friends, welcome back. Let us start with the second unit of research methods and basic statistics subject, that is sampling design, tools of data collection and communicating research. First question, what is population and sample? Explain their types. Okay, very important but very basic. Okay, in educational and social science research, the researcher is usually interested in studying large group of individuals or elements like students, teachers, schools or institutions. Okay, all these are large groups. So this entire group is called population. However, studying every individual in a population is impractical due to time limitations of time, cost and effort. Therefore, the researcher will select small portion of population known as the sample, which represents the whole group. Okay, I think it's clear. From population, sample will come. Okay, population is a very large group and small group from the population is a sample. The sample will represent the whole group. Success of any research depends on how well the sample represents the population. So if a research is successful, then it is due to the sample selection. Okay, if the sample is properly selected, the findings can be generalized to the entire population. Okay, if the sample is success, if something works on the sample, then that can be applied to the whole population. Okay, understanding population and sample is fundamental to scientific research. It ensures accuracy, reliability, and validity. Definition of population, it refers to complete set of individuals, objects, or events. It is also known as the universe in research terminology. Okay, universe is encompassing a whole thing, right? So population is also called as universe. Okay, so population is defined by characteristics. What is the age of the people in the population? What class do they belong to? What subject it is? Then location, which school, district, and country. Then time period. For example, if a researcher is studying study habits of B.Ed students, then population includes all the B.Ed students. Okay, these are the examples of population. And what are the characteristics of population? It includes all elements relevant to the research problem. It can be very large or small. It may be homogeneous, that is similar, or heterogeneous, diverse. Okay, that means all the elements may be similar or all the elements of the population may be different. It serves as a basis for the selection of sample. Okay, without population, sample cannot be there. Okay, conclusions are ultimately generalized to the whole population. Okay, after a research work has been done on a sample, the results are applied to the whole population. Types of population: finite population, infinite, homogeneous, heterogeneous, target, and accessible population. What is finite population? It is the one where number of elements are limited and countable, as the name itself tells, that is finite. Example, 500 students in a school, 50 teachers in a college. Okay, then infinite population consists of elements that are unlimited or cannot be counted exactly. Number of stars in the sky. Okay, continuous production of items in the factory. It cannot be counted, right? Then homogeneous population, when all the members have similar characteristics. Example, students of the same class and the same age group. So both class and the age are same. Heterogeneous population, when the members differ in characteristics like age, background, and ability. Example, students from different classes, schools, and socioeconomic background. Target population is the group to which the researcher wants to generalize the results. It's a particular group. Okay. This is the main focus of the research. Okay. It is a particular group on which the researcher wants to conduct the research studies. Accessible population is the portion of the target population that researcher can actually reach. So accessible population comes from target population. So target is one whole group which the researcher wants to conduct research on. What is accessible population? Is a small portion of the target population that the researcher will actually reach out to. Okay. Meaning of sample. Sample is small representative subset of the population. It is derived from the population that is selected for detailed study. Okay, instead of studying the entire population, the researcher will simply select a small sample that reflects the characteristics of the whole population. And the results of the sample are generalized to the whole population. So what are the characteristics of a good sample? It should be representative of the population. That means it should have the characteristics of the population. Then it should have adequate size for accuracy. It should be free from bias. It should be selected using scientific methods. It should ensure reliable and valid results. So sample should be selected very carefully. Types of sample. Probability sample, non-probability sample, random sample, stratified sample, systematic sample, cluster sample, and purposive sample. Probability sampling is every member of the population has equal chance of being selected. That is, we have learned in mathematics, right? What is probability? Chance. Okay? So every group member has an equal probability of being selected. That is probability sample. Example, selecting students using lottery method. Lottery method is the best example for probability. Okay, it ensures fairness and reduces bias. Non-probability sampling. Okay, this method, samples are selected based on judgment, convenience, and purpose. So the researcher will choose the samples. Okay, will based on whatever factors he has in his mind. Okay, selecting only top performing students of a study. This is the example. Okay, it may lead to biased result. Okay, the personal feelings, personal judgments of the researcher will come into play. Okay, it will result to bias. Then random sample. A random sample is selected purely by chance without any bias. Okay, picking names randomly from a list. Okay, it ensures equal opportunity for all members. This is similar to probability sample. Stratified sample. Population is divided into subgroups. Strata, as the name itself says, they're divided into subgroups and the samples are taken from each group. So each sample is divided into subgroups, subsamples, and then from the subsamples, again samples are taken. Okay. Example, selecting students from each class separately. Like for 10th class, there are different sections. Section A, B, C, D. So each, some students are selected from each section. Okay, it ensures the representation of all groups. Okay, then systematic sampling. Elements are selected at regular intervals. Okay, selecting every 10th student from a list. Then cluster sampling. Population is divided into clusters or groups and the entire cluster is selected. Okay. Example, selecting entire school instead of individual student. Okay, this is cluster sampling. Purposive sampling. Sampling is selected based on researchers' judgment and bias. Okay. Example, selecting experienced teachers. Okay. So it is used basically for specific research needs. So this is the difference between population and sample. This is the importance of sampling. It is makes research practical and manageable since it includes small groups. Studies on small groups. It saves time, cost, and effort. It allows the study of large populations. It provides quick and effective results and ensures accuracy when properly selected. It helps making generalizations about the population. What is probability sampling and non-probability sampling? Explain its types. So we know what is sampling. It is impossible to study the entire population because of time, limitations of time, cost, and effort. So a sample is required. So sampling is classified into probability sampling or non-probability sampling. Okay. Let's see what both of them are in detail. Probability sampling. This is a sampling method in which every member of the population has a known, definite, and equal chance of being selected. Every member of the group has a probability of being selected. This method is based on the principle of random selection, which ensures fairness and reduces bias. Okay. It is done in such a way that no individual is deliberately included or excluded. So the researcher cannot show partiality. Okay. This method doesn't allow the researcher to show partiality. Partiality, and it allows the researcher to be fair towards every member of the sample. Okay, this method is scientific and reliable. What are the key features? Every member gets an equal chance of selection and it ensures fairness. And selection is due to random methods. The results obtained are more accurate and reliable. Findings can be generalized to the population and it is suitable for quantitative research services. Research studies. Types of probability sampling. Simple random sampling, systematic random sampling. Okay, simple random sampling is most basic type of probability sampling in which each member of the population has an equal and independent chance of being selected. Okay, this is simple. This is the normal sampling method. Whereas systematic random sampling, it involves selecting elements from population at regular intervals after choosing a starting point. Okay, I'll explain it to you in detail. So let's come back to simple random sampling. In this method, the researcher ensures that every individual is treated equally. And methods are lottery method, random number tables, then computer generated random selection. Okay, if a teacher wants to select 10 students from a class of 50, so she writes all the names on the slips, mixes them, and randomly picks 10 slips. This ensures that every student has an equal chance of being selected. Now let us come back to systematic random sampling. Okay, they are selected, the samples, the samples are selected from regular intervals in the population. Okay, after choosing a random starting point. Okay, the population, see, you can see, go through this explanation. The population is first arranged in a list. Then the researcher selects every kth element. K is a, I have just taken a variable. Every kth element, where K is a sampling interval. So let us say K is 10. So if uh, the population is first arranged in a list, then the um, researcher will pick every 10th element in the list. Okay. If a researcher wants to select 20 students from a list of 200 students, so sampling interval. So at equal intervals means 200 divided by 20, that is 10. So the researcher will still select every 10th student. Third one is stratified random sampling. Okay. As we already know, strata means groups, subgroups. The population is divided into subgroups or strata based on specific characteristics, and the samples are selected from each subgroup. Okay, this method ensures that all important subgroups are represented in the sample. It is further divided into proportionate sampling, disproportionate, optimum allocation, stratified sampling. Okay, proportionate sampling is the sample size from each strata is proportional to the size of the population. That is, the population will the sample size will be equal, will be in proportion to the population. Okay, for example, the population has 60% boys and 40% girls. Then the sample, suppose let us, the sample will also have 60% boys and 40% girls. Disproportionate sampling is, the proportion is not considered. Okay, taking equal number of boys and girls, even if the population ratio is different. Optimum allocation, stratified sampling. Okay, the sample size is based on sample size is decided based on importance, variability, and size of each group, which increases the efficiency. Okay, all these characteristics are taken into consideration. Example: A researcher studying academic performance will select students from urban schools, rural schools. This ensures representation of both the groups. He takes both the schools and performs studies. Okay. Then cluster sampling. Okay, we are done with stratified random sampling. Then cluster sampling. The population is divided into clusters or groups, and the entire clusters are selected randomly. Okay. Instead of selecting an individual, the researcher selects group as a whole. Okay, which makes the process easier when the populations are very large. Okay, example is the students, instead of selecting individual students across a state, researcher will select 5 schools and study all the students in those schools. Then multi-stage sampling. Okay, involves selecting samples in multiple stages, combining different sampling methods. So this one will combine various sampling methods. Okay, this is used when the population is very large and complex. So the first stage is the researcher will select districts, and in districts next he will select school. From the school he will select the students. We are done with probability sampling. Now non-probability sampling is a method in which not all members of possible of population have equal chance of being selected. So the selection is on researcher's judgment, convenience, and specific purpose. So the researcher himself will select the samples. Okay. The researcher will select the participants intentionally rather than randomly. It will lead to bias, and the results cannot be generalized. Okay, key features are the selection is not random, it is based on judgment and convenience. It is easier and faster to conduct. It leads to bias result, and it is mainly used in qualitative research. Types of non-probability sampling. Quota sampling. Okay. Quotas are categories. Okay. So it ensures that important categories of the population are included, but it lacks randomness. Okay. That means the researcher only will pick up the different categories. While it is quick and economical, it will lead to bias. Okay. So quota sampling, the population is divided into various groups, and a fixed number or quota is selected from each group. Okay. Then the researcher ensures that certain characteristics are represented in the sample, but selection within each group is not random. Example, a researcher wants 50 male students, 50 female students. So he will select students until the quota is fulfilled. From a group, from a huge group, he wants 50 male and 50 female. He will go and he will personally select each and every 50 male students and each and every 50 female students. Then judgment or purposive sampling. In this method, the researcher will select participants based on their knowledge, experience, and relevance to study. So it is purely judgmental. It is purely on the wish and will of the researcher. Okay, this is useful when researcher wants specific information from a particular group. Example, the researcher only selects experienced teachers from a particular school to study teaching methods. Next, snowball sampling. Okay, in snowball sampling, the existing participants will help identify and recruit new participants. So he has selected certain, for a particular sample, the researcher has selected some participants. Okay, some more participants has to be selected. Okay, if he wants 100 participants, he will select 50 participants. The selected 50 participants will guide the researcher to select the rest of the 50 participants. Okay, this method is useful when population is difficult to locate or identify. Here example is given. See, the researcher studying a rare group starts with one participant who refers others and simply gradually grows like a snowball. So this is all a referring process. So this is the difference between probability and non-probability sampling. You can go through. What is quota sampling? We have seen the smaller explanation. Now we will see it in detail. It is an important method of non-probability sampling. We have already seen. The researcher, if he wants to ensure that all the important subgroups are represented in the sample, he will use this quota sampling method. And in quota sampling, as we have already seen, the population is divided into different categories or groups like gender, based on gender, age, class, or background, and a fixed number of participants, that is quota, is selected from each group. Okay, the researcher will decide in advance how many individuals are to be taken from each category based on the proportion or importance of that group. Okay, so we have seen this explanation previously. Types of quota. Controlled quota sampling. Okay, it is more systematic. It is controlled, right? So it is very systematic and structured form of quota sampling in which the researcher will carefully control the selection process. The researcher will himself will control the selection process, and the sample is designed in such a way that it represents the population based on multiple characteristics, not just one. Okay, the researchers identifies several factors like age, gender, educational level, or socioeconomic status, and sets quotas. Quota is a number. Quotas for each category. This helps in improving accuracy. Example, let's see when you for all such answers now, if you see examples, you will get more clarity. A researcher studying learning behavior of various students will divide the students into categories like boys and girls, urban and rural, different age groups. Then fixed quotas are assigned to each category, like 20 urban boys. Quota is number 20 urban boys, 20 urban girls, 30 rural boys, 30 rural girls. Okay, uncontrolled quota sampling. It is a less strict and more flexible form. In this method, the researcher fixes the quota for each group, but does not control how the participants are selected. Like in this age, gender, educational level, all are there. In this, nothing of such sort is there. Selection is purely based on convenience, availability, ease of access. It is more faster and simpler. Example, if a researcher needs 50 female students, they may simply select 50 students they meet. Okay. If he wants 50 students, female students, he will randomly select 50 female students that he meets without considering any factors like academic performance or background. Okay, this may lead to over or underrepresentation of certain characteristics and it results in biased data. Okay, so he will select simply 50 if he wants, he'll select 50. He will not see any other characteristics. Advantages: easy to understand and implement, time saving, cost effective, representation of key groups, and limitations are it is not based on random selection, so it will introduce bias. The researcher himself will select and assign into groups. The sample may not be fully representative of the population. Okay, whole population, the small sample might not represent the whole populations, and hence results cannot be generalized. Okay, personal judgment will be there from the researcher side, and some important characteristics may be ignored unintentionally. Define purposive judgmental sampling. Purposive sampling is also known as judgmental sampling, and it is an important type of non-probability sampling. Okay, this is a sampling technique in which the researcher intentionally, that is purposefully, he selects participants based on his judgment and purpose of the study. Okay, this is not a random selection method. Okay, he will choose the individuals who are most relevant, informative, and suitable for his research study. Okay, so in this method, the researcher uses his expert knowledge, experience, and understanding of the topic to decide who should be included in the sample. Okay. Then example, if a researcher wants to study effective teaching methods, then he may select only the experienced and highly qualified teachers rather than randomly choosing any teacher. Okay. This is because only experienced teachers can provide more valuable and detailed information. Okay. Then characteristics of purposive sampling. Selection is based on purpose, and there is a lot of researchers' judgment, and then focus on specific groups used in qualitative research, and it is a non-random method. What are the types? Typical case sampling. In this one, the researcher will select participants who represent the average or normal situation. Okay, the aim is to understand what is considered common or usual in the population. So this typical case sampling is used for common situations or daily day-to-day situations. Okay. Example, researcher wants to study general study habits of students. It is not a very complex one to be studied. It is a very simple one. That is, it is a very normal situation, general study habits. Okay. So he will select students who are neither very high achievers nor very low achievers, but those who represent the average group. Okay. This helps in understanding normal pattern of the behavior. So this is very normal type of sampling wherein the focus is on normal day-to-day activities. Then extreme or deviant case sampling. In this method, the researcher will select participants who are very different from the average. The typical case one was normal. Okay, he will select people who are very normal. But here, he will select the participants who are very different from the average. That is, who are deviating from the normal. Like he will select extremely low performers or extremely high performance. Okay. For example, to study factors behind success, researcher will select top ranking students, like what are the factors, what are the causes for success. He will select top ranking students, while to understand failure, he will select students who are extremely poor in academic performance. Okay, so this is both of them are extreme cases. Then critical case sampling. The researcher will select the case that is considered very important or decisive. Decisive means which is used for decision making purpose. Okay. If a particular school is known for its excellent teaching methods, studying that school will provide insights that can be applied to other school. So if something is true for a critical case, critical means very important case, it may be true for other similar cases also. Okay. So he will study. So in this, they're studying critical schools. Critical schools means schools which are um, all schools which are always excelling in academics. Okay, excelling in academics and excelling in teaching methods. Okay. Then that is a critical school. Okay. Then expert sampling. Expert sampling, the researcher will select individuals who are specialized, who have specialized knowledge or expertise in a particular field. Example, if a researcher wants to study curriculum development, he will select educational experts, experienced teachers and policy makers. They will only help him. Then homogeneous sampling. The researcher will select participants who have similar characteristics. Example, selecting only B.Ed second year students or students from the same age group. Then heterogeneous sampling. Okay. In this type, the researcher will select participants with diverse characteristics to capture wide range of perspective. Example, he will select urban and rural students. Both of them are completely different. He will select boys and girls. And he'll select students from different socio-economic backgrounds. So this will help in understanding different viewpoints also and also variations in the population. Then snowball. This also has snowball sampling. Although it is treated separately, it can also be considered as a purposive technique, okay, where existing participants will help identify others. We have discussed in the previous question. Example, a researcher is studying a rare group. Okay, he will not, since it is a rare group, getting information about all the group members is difficult. So he will identify one participant of the group. He will select that participant. That one participant will refer to the other participants. Okay, and the sample gradually expands. Then convenience-based purposive sampling. Okay, the researcher select participants who are easily available, but also relevant to the study, that is based on convenience. Example, selecting students from one's own class for a study of learning behavior. Okay, it is very easy. If the researcher or whoever class, whatever class he is teaching in, he will select the students from the same class. Okay, that is convenience based. So these are the advantages and limitations. You can go through. Then define snowball sampling. Snowball, we have already seen snowball sampling. If the sample is very rare and it is very difficult for the researcher to get the members of the sample, then he will select one person from the sample and ask that person to refer the other members of the sample. Okay. Okay, this is all the explanation of snowball sampling. Um, So this process of snowball sampling follows step-by-step pattern. First, the researcher identifies few individuals who meet the criteria of his study, and these individuals are known as seeds or initial contacts. Okay. After collecting the data from them, the researcher will ask these participants to refer or suggest the other individuals. So the initial participants are known as seeds or initial contacts. Okay, this is the example of snowball sampling. Very easy. Characteristics of snowball sampling. It begins with small initial sample and expands gradually. Participants help in identifying other participants. It is useful for hidden or hard to reach populations. Okay, uses. It is when the population is rare and not easily accessible. When there is no complete list of participants that is available, it is very useful in studies that involve sensitive topics where participants will hesitate to come forward. Okay. Uh, then these are the advantages and limitations of snowball sampling. In limitations, it will bias is the main aspect. Okay, since the participants in the sample will show bias, they will refer to the participants which they feel comfortable. So that is always there. Differences between probability and non-probability sampling. What is the importance of focus groups in qualitative research? What is the importance of focus groups in qualitative research? Okay. So focus groups, they are an important method of data collection in qualitative research. In this, a small group of people discuss a particular topic under the guidance of a moderator or a facilitator. So there is a guide and a small group of people will discuss a particular topic under his guidance. Okay, this method is widely used in education, psychology, and other sciences to understand opinions, attitude, beliefs, and experience of the participants. Okay, this focus groups allows participants to interact with each other, which leads to richer and deeper insights. So, what is the meaning of a focus group? A focus group is a small group discussion usually consisting of 6 to 10 participants who share their views on specific topic. So the discussion is conducted by a researcher or a moderator who asks questions and encourages the participants to express their ideas freely. So there is someone higher to the people. That is, there is a guide who moderates or who takes care of the group discussion activity. Importance of focus groups. They provide in-depth understanding. They encourage interaction and discussion. They help in exploring new ideas. They are useful for understanding attitudes and beliefs. They're flexible and dynamic. They're cost-effective and time-saving. They help in validating data. Okay, they're useful in educational research. They build comfort and confidence among the participation, and they provide rich qualitative data. Example of focus groups. Okay, a researcher wants to study the effectiveness of digital learning tools. So they conduct a focus group. That focus group has 8 students. They ask questions about ease of using technology, understanding of concept, and the challenges faced. Okay, there will be a guide or a moderator who will guide all of these 8 students, and the students will discuss their experiences, and the researcher will collect detailed insights that cannot be obtained through simple surveys. What is the purpose of research proposal? Explain. Okay, research proposal is a formal document that is prepared before conducting a research study. So first a proposal has to be made, and then after the approval of the proposal, the research has to be conducted. Okay. which clearly explains what the researcher intends to do, how it will be done, and why is it important. It acts as a blueprint or a plan for the entire research process. Okay, in educational research, a well-prepared proposal is very important as it helps that the study is systematic, meaningful, and scientifically valid. Okay, research proposal is usually submitted to guides, institutions, or funding agencies. Whichever agency will provide funding, the research proposal has to be submitted there. And after they approve, only the actual research work will start. Okay, so research proposal is a detailed plan of research study which includes research problem, objectives, methodologies, and the expected outcomes. Purpose of the research proposal. It provides clear direction to research. It helps in planning the research process. It establishes the importance of the research study. It helps in identifying the resources and feasibility. And it is very much required for approval and funding. Then structure of the research proposal. It should be it should have an abstract and table of contents. Abstract is nothing but the brief summary of the entire research proposal. Then you should have an introduction that gives a background information about the research topic. Then you should have aims and objectives. Okay, what is the goal of the research and what the researcher wants to achieve. It should contain background information and the significance of the research. Then you should have a literature review. Okay, it should include what literature or what articles or previous research the researcher has gone through. Okay, previous research related to the topic has to be mentioned. Okay, then it should have a research design and methodology. How the researcher is going to proceed with the research. And then it should have research questions, then suppositions and implications. That is, what are the assumptions made by the researcher? And you should have conclusion and bibliography. Conclusion is a overall plan and summary, and bibliography is from where he has got the information. He should give credits to various research publications he has gone through and various authors. And this is a small example of a research proposal. What is report writing? Explain the characteristics of an effective research report. After completion of the research study, the research findings must be presented in a systematic and organized manner so that others can understand, evaluate, and use the results. Okay, so this process of presenting the research work is known as report writing. So this report writing, it is a final and most important step in research process. Okay, because even a well conducted research study has no value if it is not properly communicated. If nobody reads your research, then what value will it have? People should read your research to identify its effectiveness and to identify its value. Methods of meaning of report writing is presenting the research findings in clear, structured, and written form. Okay. Importance of research writing is communication of research findings clearly, permanent record of the research work. It allows others to review and evaluate the study. It helps in applying the research results in various practical situations. Characteristics of effective research report. First, it should have focus. That is, it should clearly focus on the research problem and its objective. Then it should have accuracy. It should not have any mistakes. Okay. Clarity. It should be in simple, clear, and easily understandable language. And it should be objective. That is objectivity. Okay, that means it should be very fair and it should be unbiased. It should not have any personal judgments or personal opinions regarding anything. It should be very honest. It should be conveyed in an honest way. Then it should have coherence and logical organization. That means it should be well organized and there should be logical flow of ideas. It should be written in a systematic order like introduction, methodology, results, and conclusion, etc. Then it should have completeness. It should include all the necessary details. None of the details should be left incomplete. Then consciousness. it should be conciseness. Okay. The report should be detailed, but it should also be concise and to the point. Whatever point you want to talk about, you have to talk only about that. You should not deviate. It should be very concise. You should not add irrelevant details. And then proper presentation. It should be neatly presented, and uh, it should have subheadings, tables, charts, graphs, wherever necessary. It should not be very clumsy. Use of correct language and grammar. It should be free from grammatical mistakes. And references and citation is very important. From where you have gathered all the information, you have to mention everything in detail. Examples of the research report is this one. What is citation? Explain its components, types, and common citation styles. So, in a research writing, it is essential to acknowledge the source of information. Very, very important. You have to write, you have to acknowledge from wherever you have got the information. Like researchers generally collect ideas, data, and theory from books, journals, and websites. And the researcher should give proper credit to these sources. And this giving the credit process is known, this credit giving is known as citation. Okay, it is a fundamental part of academic writing because it will ensure honesty, transparency, and credibility. Okay, if you are not going to cite whatever you have from wherever you have taken the information, it is going to become a serious problem actually. Citation meaning of citation. Citation refers to the practice of mentioning the source of the information that you have used in the research work. Okay. Importance of citation. It gives credit to the original authors. It avoids plagiarism. Plagiarism is copying. Then it increases credibility of research work. It allows readers to locate original sources, and then uh, it shows that the research is based on reliable evidence. Components of citation. Author's name, title of the work, year of publication, place of publication, publisher, who is the publisher, and page number for direct, from which page you have taken also you have to mention. Volume and issue number for journals, URL if it is an online source, and the date of access. Where do citations appear? Okay, they appear in in-text citation. These are included within the main content of the research. Like you are writing a paragraph, you will include it in the, if you are taking a particular paragraph from somewhere, you will write it immediately next to the paragraph within the main content of the research. Okay, this will briefly mention the author's name and the year. Example, student, this is a sentence. Student learning improves with technology. It is taken from this particular book. It just includes the author name and the year. The reference list. This is given at the end of the research report, where complete details are given. Okay, these have different formats. There are different formats to write the citation. We will see here. See common citation styles. APA style, American Psychological Association style. Okay, this you have to write it in this way. Okay, MLA style, Modern Language Association style. It is used in literature and humanities. It focuses mainly on the author and the page number. This one focuses on author and the year. Okay. In Chicago style. This is used in history and some social sciences. It provides two formats, notes and bibliography, author date system. Okay, this is an example. What is the referencing process of writing? Explain with example. We have seen citation means giving credit to the author. Referencing also is something similar. It involves acknowledging the source of information used in a study. Okay. It makes sure that the research work is transparent, credible, and free from plagiarism. Okay. Meaning of the referencing is listing all sources of information that you have used in the research in a systematic form. Okay. Then referencing process of writing involves identifying the source of information from where you've taken, either is it from books or journal, website, or reports. Then recording the complete details of the source, author's name, title of the book, year of publication, and publisher and place. Then using a standard citation style like APA, MLA, writing in-text citations, that is between the content citations, and preparing reference list and ensuring consistency and consistency and accuracy. So these are various examples I have provided how to write them. You can go through. I have given around 5 examples how to write the references. You can go through, very easy. What is correlation coefficient? Explain Carl Pearson's correlation coefficient. So this is a part of statistics. It is very important to understand the relationship between two variables. For example, if a teacher wants to know whether the students who study more score higher marks or whether attendance affects the performance. Okay, if studying more will affect performance or regularly attending classes will affect the performance, if the teacher wants to measure this, to measure such relationship scientifically, we use statistical tool called correlation coefficient. So to measure the relationship between two or more variables, we use correlation coefficient. Will help the researcher identify whether the variables are related. If they are related, how strongly they are related, and in which direction they are related. Okay. Then meaning of correlation coefficient. It is a numerical value that indicates the degree or strength and direction of a relationship between the two variables. Okay. It shows whether the two variables move together or in opposite direction. Its value ranges between +1 and -1. For example, we want to study the relationship between the hours of study, that is X, this variable, hours of study and marks obtained. So both of them are two variables. So hours of study is represented as X, marks obtained is represented as Y. So the correlation coefficient will tell us how strongly study time affects the marks. How many hours a person studies, how it affects the marks. Okay. Range and interpretation of correlation coefficient. So we have said that the range is between +1 and -1. What is +1? It is perfect positive correlation. That means both of them are positive. That means let us see an example. Every increase in study time, like increase by 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, it will lead to increase in marks. That is, it is going in the positive direction. 0 means no correlation. There is no relation between both of them. Then -1 means, if, for example, 0 correlation means shoe size and intelligence. Are both of them related? They're not related, right? So it is 0 correlation. Then -1 is negative correlation. Negative means increase in absenteeism. That is, if a student is being absent to a class always, it is leading to decrease in. Okay, this is a negative correlation. This is positive, 0 and negative. Then types of correlation. Positive correlation. Both the variables will move in the same direction. That is, when one variable increases, other also will increase. When one decreases, other will also decrease. For example, more study time, higher marks. The negative correlation, two variables move in the opposite direction. When one variable increases, other one decreases. More mobile usage, lower marks. 0 correlation. In this case, there is no relationship between the variables. Change in one variable will not affect the other one. Shoe size, will it affect intelligence? Nothing. There's no relation between both of them. So this Carl Pearson correlation coefficient is a statistical method to measure correlation, and it measures the strength and direction of a linear relationship between two variables, whether both are going in the same direction or both are going in the different direction. So this is the formula. There is no other choice, but you have to memorize this formula. And these are the expansions of each of the variables. So if R is the correlation coefficient. Okay, if R is +0.85, there is strong positive relationship. That is, students who study more will get higher marks. If R is equal to -65, that is a negative relationship. More mobile usage, lower marks. R is equal to 0, there is no connection between the variables. With characteristics of correlation coefficient, that is R. Okay, it measures only linear relationship. That is, both of them should go in one direction. Okay, values lie between +1 and -1 and +1. Shows both strength and direction. It is a unit free. It is not affected by measurement of unit. It doesn't have any units like meters, grams, centimeters. It doesn't have any unit. Okay, it is useful for prediction and analysis. Okay, even if marks are in percentages and study time is in hours, correlation still works. It is not dependent on units only. Okay, so these are the units of correlation coefficient. What are the assumptions of Karl Pearson's correlation coefficient? So Karl Pearson coefficient has a lot of assumptions. Okay, first, if these assumptions are not followed, the values of the correlation may be misleading or incorrect. The first assumption is linear relationship between variables. That is, it can be represented by a straight line. Okay. If change in one variable should be proportional to the change in the other. Example, study time increases means marks should also increase. Okay, study time increases, marks increases suddenly and irregularly, like once time, even though the student is studying, sometimes if he gets good marks, sometimes if he scores less, then it is not linear. Okay, then quantitative numerical data. Both variables should be measured in numerical form only. Okay, this method works only when the data is expressed in numbers. Example, marks, height, weight, study hours, all these can be expressed in numbers. No, gender, religion, opinions, these are invalid. Then normal distribution of the data. The data should be normally distributed, meaning the values are spread in balance, bell-shaped pattern. I will provide the graph in the next slide. Most values should be around the average with fewer extreme values. Okay, the normal distribution curve I will show you. You can understand clearly. Example, in a uh, most of the students score around 60 to 70 marks. That is acceptable. Only a few students score very high or very low. This ensures that the correlation is reliable. See, very low means I will show it to you in the graph. You will understand better. In the next slide, I will provide the graph and I will explain this normal distribution of data. Then homogeneity of data. That is equal variability. The data should have uniform variation throughout the range. That means in a spread of data points, there should be consistency, not too scattered and not too close to the others. For example, if the marks increase gradually with study time, it shows consistent variation. If the marks are scattered like sometimes high, sometimes low, sometimes high, sometimes low, it will violate this assumption. Then independence of assumption. Each observation should be independent of others. Okay, each observation should be independent of others. That is, the value of one observation should not affect the other one. Okay, example, each student's marks are independent. One student marks, if one student scores high, the other student need not score high. Okay, and that is, each student's marks are independent. Okay, his marks are his marks. Okay, and one more independence of copying in exams. Okay, if one student copies, that doesn't mean other student copies. So copying is also independent. Absence of extreme values. These are called outliers. They should not be extreme or unusual values. Okay, they can give misleading result. Example, most students score between 50 to 80. This is okay. One student scores 0 or 100. 0 is extreme, 1000. One student scores 0 or 1000. 0 is one extreme, 1000 is one extreme. Exam paper cannot be for 1000 marks, no. And paired observation. Data should be collected in pairs, x and y. Both x variable should be there and y variable should be there. Okay, and each of them should correspond to each other, should have relation with each other. Example, study hours and marks. Study hours is one variable and marks is one more variable, x and y, for each student. Both study hours and Marks are dependent on each other and they can be correlated. Only marks without study hours is of no use. Na? You cannot correlate. Okay. So both variables must be there and both must be correlated. Then formula of Karl-Pearson coefficient, you know this previous answer we have studied. So this is a normal distribution curve. We have seen in the third point of uh, assumptions of Karl-Pearson coefficient. So the data that is the data should be distributed in this within this curve. That is, this is a bell-shaped curve, and it should, if we consider this as the average, most values should be within the average and with fewer extremes. This is the lower extreme and this is the higher extreme. Okay, like around in a particular class, most students score 60 to 70%, 60 to 70 marks. This is the example that is there in the third point. Most students score 60 to 70, and very less students score very low marks, and very less students score very high marks. Okay, so this is in the form of normal distribution. This is the normal distribution bell-shaped curve. How to find correlation coefficient? Explain the types of correlation with graphs, properties, and example. So types of correlations are positive correlation. In positive correlation, both the variables move in the same direction. When one variable increases, other also increases. So graph, it is an upward sloping graph. Okay, from left to right. I will show it to you after we finish. Then examples are more study time, higher marks, more practice, better performance. Okay, these are the examples. Then negative correlation, variables move in the opposite direction. When one increases, other decreases. Okay, graph is a downward sloping line. More mobile usage, lower marks. One is increasing, more mobile usage, and marks are decreasing. Okay, then zero correlation, there is no relationship between the variables. Okay, one variable does not affect one variable does not affect the others. So this is a strong correlation coefficient. This is the graph. This is going from like this, and this is a negative correlation graph. It is going like this. So you can see the graph. And how to find the correlation coefficient? You know the correlation coefficient is R, and the formula is R is equal to, this is the formula, and some examples are given. What are the types of tools for data collection? Explain their uses. Okay. Data collection is a very important step in research because the accuracy and reliability of research findings will depend upon the quality of the data that is collected. Okay. To collect the data systematically, researchers use various tools known as tools of data collection. They help in gathering relevant, accurate, and meaningful information. What are the tools? First tool is questionnaires. Okay, it is a set of written questions. Interviews, face-to-face or verbal interaction between the researcher and the respondent. Respondent is a person who is being researched on. Okay, it collects in-depth information. And observation. Observation is a casual process. Okay, it's a natural process of watching and recording behavior or events in the natural setting, natural environment of the person. Tests. Tests are standard procedures. They are standardized tools used to measure the knowledge, ability, or the skills. A schedule. Okay, a schedule is similar to a questionnaire, but it is filled by the researcher. Questionnaire is filled by the person who is being researched on, and schedule is filled by the researcher himself. Okay, the researcher asks questions and records answers. Ask himself questions and he will record the answers. It is useful when respondents are illiterate or need assistance. Okay, this is mainly used when the respondents or the person who are being researched on are illiterates. Okay, Then, what are the characteristics of a good questionnaire? It should first have a clear purpose. Okay, that means it should define the objectives very clearly. Okay, I have provided a very detailed examples of each of the following. Very easy in very easy terminologies only I have mentioned. You can go through. Then it should have simple and clear language. It should be easy and understandable. Okay. Then proper framework should be there. That is, it should have a logical structure. Okay. Then relevance of questions. The questions should be relevant to the research topic. It should not divert. Uh, Proper arrangement of questions to maintain the flow and continuity. Appropriate length of the question and suitable form of responses. That is yes or no type, multiple choice type, rating scale, open-ended questions. Then avoidance of ambiguity. Ambiguity is confusion. Any question that is asked should be clear cut and to the point. It should be neutral and unbiased. It should be very fair. It should be attractive and neat presentation. What are the uses of questionnaires and what are the limitations? Uses is it is used for collection of data from large population. It is a very time saving method. It is cost effective. It is a standardized form of data collection. It is easy to analyze. And anonymity and honest responses. Anonymity is without knowing the person's details. Okay, that is the respondents may feel more comfortable by answering the uh, question honestly because the questionnaires are anonymous. They will not reveal the identity of the respondent. Okay. Wide coverage. They will cover a wide aspects and their flexibility. There is flexibility in the question types. And what are the limitations? Low response rate. Okay. All respondents will not answer the questions properly. Lack of clarification. If the respondents do not understand the question, there is no one to explain it, which may lead to wrong answers. Then superficial information. Okay. The questionnaires will provide limited or brief answers like yes or no type of answers. No, the researcher will not know much about it. Okay, hence he will get a superficial information. Then there is every possibility of biased responses. Then it is not suitable for illiterate respondents. They cannot study. So what is the use? Then there is lack of personal interaction. Then there is misinterpretation of questions. One question, one person will understand in one way, other person will understand in another way. And there is every chance of incomplete responses. What are the limitations of rating scale? Explain the different types of errors. So as we know, rating scales are their tools in research and education that are used to measure the performance, attitudes, and behavior. Okay, like a teacher may rate a student as excellent, good, or average based on his performance. Okay, what are the limitations of rating scale? There is error of leniency. That is, the evaluator might give higher ratings than deserved. Okay, if the rater is too kind, generous, or very soft-hearted, he will not feel like giving less marks. No, so he will give high marks. Okay, then error of severity. This is opposite to error of leniency. If the evaluator is too strict, no, he will give low ratings to everybody. Error of central tendency. Okay, in this error, the evaluator avoids giving extreme rating, very high or very low rates to everyone. He is in the middle category. That is, all students are rated as average. Okay, this leads to lack of differentiation among individuals. One cannot differentiate between high achievers and low achievers. Halo effect. Okay, evaluator's overall impression of a person will influence all ratings. Like if the evaluator has a good impression on the person, he will give all tests as good. If he doesn't have a good impression on the particular person, whatever test he answers, he will give bad marks. It is like that. If the evaluator likes one quality, then he rates all the other qualities highly. Then logical error. The evaluator assumes that certain traits are logically related even when they are not. For example, A teacher assumes a student who is good in English must also be good in social studies. It is not always true, no. That logic is not true. So they give similar rating in both the subjects, irrespective of the student's performance. So this will lead to incorrect judgment. In contrast error, evaluator compares one student with another student instead of using fixed standards. That is, a teacher evaluates the students after every brilliant student. The second student appears weak even if they are good. So he will take a brilliant student, a very excellent student as a standard, and he will start comparing every student with the brilliant student. Then he will find them, then he will find every student bad only, in spite in spite of them being good. This is unfair comparison and it is biased comparison. Then proximity error. In this error, ratings of one trait will influence the ratings of the nearby traits on the scale. Example, a teacher gives high marks for punctuality. They may also give high marks for discipline, behavior, etc. See, all of them are closely related, punctuality, discipline, behavior. So if he gives high marks for punctuality, then he will also give high marks for discipline and behavior. Okay. So these are the limitations. What are tests? Explain the type of test. So test is a systematic and standardized tool that is used to measure an individual's knowledge, ability, skill, intelligence or personality traits. Okay, it plays a very important role in evaluating students' learning outcomes, progress and performance. What is the meaning of a test? A test is a set of questions or tasks that is designed to assess a person's performance in a specific area. Mathematics test used to measures problem solving ability. So what are the various types of tests? There are three major types of tests. First, method of test can be classified based on method of administration, standardization, traits or abilities measured. So first on basis of administration. First is power tests. So these power tests will measure the ability or level of understanding of a student without time limits. Okay, how much they can do, and time is not measured. Focus is on accuracy and the depth of the knowledge and not speed. So in power test versus speed test. So power test, time is not the factor, only accuracy and depth of the knowledge is given importance. Example, essay type, problem solving, etc. Student gets enough time to think and answer in such questions. Speed test. Speed test measure how quickly a person can perform task within a given time. So time comes here. Time factors plays a very important role here. Focus is on speed and efficiency. Typing test, objective test. Students must answer quickly within the given time. Then individual test versus group test. Individual tests are the tests that is conducted to one person at a particular time in order to understand the detail in order to understand that particular person in detail. Example, intelligence test that is conducted by psychologist and oral examination. Then what are group tests? They are conducted for many individuals at the same time. Okay, school exams, competitive exams. Paper and pencil test versus performance test is the next one. Paper and pencil test means students write the answer on paper, or in these days it is also online. Okay, measures theoretical knowledge. Written exams, MCQ test. Performance test is students are asked to perform a particular test practically, a particular task practically. That is science experiments, teaching practice, drawing or music performance, etc. Then, on basis of standardization, they include non-standardized tests and standardized tests. Non-standardized tests are teacher-made tests. Okay, they are prepared by the teachers in the classroom according to the classroom needs. They are not scientifically standard. They are flexible, easy to prepare, and limited reliability. Example: unit test or a slip test that is prepared, that is conducted by the teacher at the end of the unit. Then standardized tests. They are developed using scientific methods and uniform for all students. Okay. The example IQ test, national level exams, and end semester exams, such kind of thing. Then third one on the basis of traits or abilities. On the basis of traits or abilities, they are divided into first tests of general mental ability, intelligence tests. They measure the intellectual ability reasoning and problem solving skills like IQ tests. And the second one is tests of special abilities, that is aptitude tests. They measure specific abilities in a particular area. Example, mathematical aptitude, mechanical aptitude. They help in career guidance. Then tests of creativity. They measure a person's ability to think creatively and generate new ideas. Okay, asking students to write a story or draw a picture. Tests of attainment of achievement test. Measure what a student has learned in a particular subject. School exams and semester exams. This tests of attainment are related to school. Then question number 21, uses of tests. It is used in measurement of students' achievement, evaluation of teachers' effectiveness, diagnosis of learning difficulties. If anybody has any difficulties, then they are used to find out those weak areas. Then placement of students. Place student in appropriate classes, schools of various levels. Then prediction of future performance. Then guidance and counseling. And selection and admission process. Then motivation of students and any certification and promotion. They're also used in research and data collection. They're used for comparison of individuals and improvement of the curriculum. What are limitations of tests? If one has advantages, it should have disadvantages also. So, limited measurement of abilities. Okay. They do not fully assess all the important aspects like creativity, emotion, values, practical skill. They just assess, every test will assess one particular area only. Then test anxiety and stress. Many students feel anxious and stressed out during tests. They feel a lot of pressure. Then they're influenced by influence of external factors like health, mood, environment. Then possibility of guessing. In objective tests like multiple choice questions, students will do a lot of guesswork. Okay, by which we cannot know how much a student has understood. Lack of depth in evaluation. Okay. Then bias, always bias is there. Then one-time measurements. Then tests measure performance at one particular time, but not the overall ability. Then they neglect the individual differences. Example, some students perform better in oral exams, but in written test, they do not reflect their true ability. So individual differences are neglected. Then encourage rote learning, that is memorizing the answers instead of understanding the concept. Then time consuming and it is a lot of pressure oriented. Okay. Mhm. Then there is a possibility of cheating in examination and it is not suitable for all learning outcomes. Like, for example, there are many other qualities like leadership skills, teamwork, attitude, which cannot be measured effectively through tests.